we got our first pieces from sample 1.
Before I get started with today's video, I wanted to acknowledge that the MTN Prospecting channel has hit 500 subscribers. 500 of you have subscribed to the channel. You're interested in the content, you're interested in what we're doing, and that means the world to us. It keeps us motivated. It's exactly what we're trying to do with this channel. We're trying to grow. We're trying to educate ourselves with geology and with gold prospecting in general. We're learning every day. We're learning with each and every video, learning with all the comments you guys leave us. So we appreciate all the support. And for the appreciation of 500 subscribers, we're gonna do another giveaway. We're going to give away some of this gold ore that we've been getting. So I'll post another post on the channel, so stay tuned for that post and look out for it. It'll be simple to enter. Just drop a comment on that post and you'll be entered to win some gold ore. So let's get to the video. Welcome back to the MTN Prospecting channel. Today we're gonna do what you guys have been waiting for us to do. We're gonna crush up the samples we got from the sealed mine and the other prospecting pit, and we're gonna see what kind of gold we get out of it. Today we're gonna try to be more observant of the different colors, the different minerals in this rock. So let's take a look at each one of these samples and observe some of the different happenings going on. All right, so we're looking at the 4 different samples we have. This is sample 1. Sample 1 is from right outside the opening of the mine. This is what Dylan was working on initially. Definitely the sketchiest spot, a lot of shelves hanging overhead. We did break up some of those and kind of clear off the ceiling. So check out that video and see how we got this material. This stuff is pretty interesting. The quartz is pretty opaque, so it's really not as translucent and see-through as I'm used to. You can kind of see some of these pieces just super white and milky almost. But a couple interesting things with these pieces. We have what Dylan was saying, a lot of vugs in here. So a lot of openings. This rock is, I don't know if it's really porous, but a lot of cavities in it. So super interesting. We also have some black minerals in some of those vugs. I think that might be tourmaline or some other sulfides in there. So definitely interesting. This stuff does have some red iron oxide staining to it. You can see this one has it in this vug right here. Get nice up and close for you guys. So again, trying to be more observant this time on what the material really looks like, the colors of it, the texture, so we can better identify and kind of learn where that gold's coming from. A couple of these pieces are really interesting. I don't know if you can see it on the camera, but it's almost got a little shine to it. You can see all the slips that came down along this. We talked about this a little bit in the video, how this must have been right on the edge of that fault, or it happened when they were digging out that mine. But super cool to see those lines and see the shimmer of that quartz. Again, that quartz is super white and milky. So pretty interesting material. We definitely have the most out of this stuff. Sample number 2. So sample number 2, this was about 10 to 15 feet outside of the opening of that sealed mine. This material is also pretty unique. You can see this material is definitely porous. Look at all the holes. It almost looks spongy like. Let me see if I can focus that a little bit better. But holes all through the top of that. Little bit of iron, red iron staining on there. This quartz looks pretty much the same as our sample 1. Maybe starting to get a little bit clearer. Again, you can see that what I believe is iron staining there. I'm not seeing as much tourmaline or sulfides in this, maybe a little bit here. But still super interesting samples. Sample number 3. Sample number 3 is from a vein right across from this one. This quartz has really shimmery, almost silver pieces. I'm not sure if it's galena. I want to say it's not. It could just be, again, tourmaline, other sulfides, possibly 100 other minerals as well. Look at those bands of that iron oxide in there, those iron oxide pockets. Super interesting material. This was right along the hanging wall when I got this piece. So I'm excited for these as well. So I found these samples in that third sample as well. This stuff was also along that hanging wall. And Dylan believed that this was hematite. So hematite is a pretty common iron oxide mineral. You can see that redness to it, so it's similar to the iron oxide staining we've been seeing. Really cool kind of crystalline structure, square structure. All right, for our last sample, this is the only sample that we took from that last prospecting pit. That area was pretty scary. If you watch that video, there were multiple signs in that prospecting pit that should have told us not to go in. We definitely won't go back there. If we do go back, we're going to have better safety equipment, kind of break down some pieces, or just wait until everything thaws out and everything's settled. But this is some pretty cool material. So again, we have the big quartz vein, some iron oxide pockets in here. Doesn't necessarily mean gold, but we have found some gold out of pieces with some of that iron staining. But this is really what we were looking at, is that darker material. I keep pointing this out. I need to figure out exactly what this is. I keep mentioning that it's some type of tourmaline. Let me know if you know what these black minerals are that we keep finding. So that's what we have for samples. Let's get to crushing, and I'll show you what we get. So we might have some new audience members in this video, so I'm going to show you guys again how we're crushing up this rock. We're doing it on a very, very small scale. So we're using a steel block here at the bottom of our sap bucket and a hammer. And that's how we crush up all of our rock. This is not the best way. We can't get it super fine. Today I'm going to try to get it a little more fine. So let's see what we can do. Mask on. That's some nice ore. I guess we'll find out if it's some nice ore. This stuff's super, super tough to crush up versus our past samples. It must be more dense. So another thing to keep in mind that this stuff might be harder. Good thing or bad thing? Let's find out. All right, guys, so I'm not going to bore you with the rest of this crushing. Let's skip to the good part.
We got our first pieces from sample 1. Look at those little chunky pieces. We know this isn't huge gold, guys. We're not going to find big gold in this hard rock, these quartz veins, but to be able to see them like this with the naked eye is pretty impressive. We'll put these on some white paper and give you guys some better visuals in the end of the video. But nice start. Nice pieces. We're looking at some very, very, very fine gold here in right there at the tip of the shadow. Super, super small piece. All right, so we got a couple more microscopic pieces again. It'd be really tricky to see them. They kind of blend in with everything else once you get that small.
So I found probably 5 to 10 of those little micro fly poops out of that third sample. I don't think that's the best stuff we're gonna have, so more samples to go. Let's see what we can get.
Look at the gold popping up on the right side there. 3 itty bitty pieces. Looks white on the camera. We'll get a better contrast to that. Ended up switching to my black pan because it was so hard to see. We got another really, really small piece right there in the middle. I'll put a little circle around it in the video. I switched to my black pan because it was so hard to see all these fine, fine pieces. So far, we've definitely had better luck at the first mine site we found. Not any of the mines in the past video, but a few videos ago when we first ran into these prospecting pits, we found more coarse gold out of that stuff for sure. Some better specimens. This stuff, it's super, super fine. It's kind of interesting. The material is kind of similar from what we talked about in the beginning of the video. The material looked really, really good. Exactly what we thought we should be looking for, but maybe we're missing an element of it. Maybe we're missing a couple very important minerals that we should be looking out for, or just specific locations. Dylan and I have started getting into looking at some of the angles of the veins of the joints that are showing up. So not the faults themselves, but the joints that the faults are causing, kind of like stress fractures. Trying to look more at that angle just to see, is that at a certain angle, is it best for that gold to drop out?
At the previous mine, we think we know what angle that's at, so maybe we can measure the angle of this vein as well. This vein in the last two spots definitely seemed more straight up and down vertical, which the previous location with the coarse gold had a bit more of a slope to it, a shallow slope to it. Maybe some connections to be made there.
Just for comparison on what we were getting in the very, very first mine we found versus this new spot, look at that chunkier gold. I can roll this in my finger. Luckily, it didn't get too smushed down in our process. But look how much chunkier that gold is compared to what we will call the Batcave gold mine. This stuff at our first location just looks so much better. So what we'll probably do is go back to that original location. We still might test out the stream that was running down that hill. There's some good bedrock in there that we pointed out. So we'll still probably test that out. But this gold from that first location is definitely better. We'll end up going back there next time and see if we can get some of this chunkier gold. We'll do more of an analysis on that material too that we get at that first spot. Now that we know that that first mine that we found has the better gold, we'll pay closer attention to that material and what's in it, so we can keep getting these little chunky bits of gold. All right, so here's what we got. We ended up getting really, really small pieces just about in every single sample. Not one sample really stood out from the others, so I'm not really going to separate anything. But here's what we're looking at for the pieces that I could really grab out. You can see this was one of the largest pieces we pulled out. And I know for some of you that might be newer to the channel, this isn't super exciting to see. If you do want to see chunkier gold, go check out some of the panning videos we took last year. So we're not expecting big pieces. This stuff isn't too bad. Like I keep saying, we're surprised just to find stuff that's visible with the naked eye. So that's really what we got out of that trip to the Batcave. There's still some minerals that we didn't break up yet. It's not really rich enough for us to keep getting into it. And we really don't have the best method either. We're not using a ball mill to crush this up fine enough. We're not using a shaker table. We're using a hand pan. So we might be losing some small pieces. And we have another mine that has been producing some better gold. Let me see if I can get a nice focus in. And we have the first mine that's producing this kind of gold. Look at those pieces. This stuff is super, super impressive. See how close I can get it. There's a couple pieces in there that are super, super chunky, especially for what we're getting out of the hard rock. That's a good pile of gold. That's probably from the same weight material we got that gold that we got this gold. So safe to say, we're going back to this original location. We're gonna do another video, like I said, kind of pointing out how this material looks different than this material. It both looks great, but there's something special about that first spot that we have. Thank you guys for watching if you've made it this far. And as always, we'll see you next time on the MTN Prospecting Channel.